Hello everyone and welcome to Barcelona for the 2022 Formula 1 Grand Prix of Spain, here in the Alternative Apex series. After what was an exciting round 1 to the season and with some surprises mixed in there as well, we come to the Spanish circuit here in Barcelona. A track that has got very high tyre wear so far this weekend, so expect to see a mix-up of the strategy throughout this race, perhaps a battle, one stop versus two stop. Those that can make the one stop work, mediums to hards, I'm sure they'll do what they can to do that strategy, and those that have to start on the softs because they've qualified in the top 10 will just have to make do with what they get when they have to make that second stop in this race, because it is a matter of fact they'll find themselves in the mid-pack here, so they'll have to try and battle away back up the order to try and get up to the lead group. Drivers are on the grid now for the Spanish Grand Prix and getting ready for what hopefully will be an exciting race. Here is your starting grid for today's Grand Prix. On pole position it is Valtteri Bottas. Mercedes take their second pole in a row. Alongside him on the front row will be Max Verstappen for Red Bull. A little bit of a bounce back after a tough round 1. Norris in third ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Then it's Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc locking out the third row for Ferrari, ahead of Ricciardo, Perez, Gasly and Alonso locks out the top 10. Then it is Sainz and Giovinazzi with Schumacher and Stroll in the row behind them. Then it is Esteban Ocon and Robert Shwartzman, Pato O'Ward, George Russell, Guan Yu Zhou starting 19th, ahead of Nicholas Latifi, Yuki Tsunoda and Nikita Mazepin. Brings up the back of the grid. Tsunoda there appearing to have a grid penalty after qualifying. Cars are on the grid now, the lights are coming on and we are ready. And we are racing in Spain. Can Bottas get a good start here? Oh, Verstappen get him. Verstappen's already ahead as they make the long run down towards turn 1. Max Verstappen on the inside line, sending it to the inside on Valtteri Bottas. Bottas going to fight it around the outside though. On the inside now for turn 2, but again it'll be the outside for turn 3. Norris watching this battle just ahead of him, looking for an opportunity to get involved here. But Bottas all the way around the outside of turn 3. What a move, Valtteri Bottas, who retakes the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix further down the order. It is Sebastian Vettel just ahead of Charles Leclerc and Daniel Ricciardo, who are battling out here for the 6th position. Ricciardo on the inside, Leclerc on the outside. Leclerc going to try and get the better traction on the outside of that corner. But Ricciardo with the inside line now, diving now as they prepare to go back up the hill at this Spanish circuit. Now into the very fast right-hander, and it's Daniel Ricciardo who gets that position up into 6th place. But it is Valtteri Bottas though who's leading this race and starting to pull away out front. Great drive so far by the Finn up at the front of the field. But on lap 6 of the Grand Prix, first driver into the pits, it's Max Verstappen who pulls in for a fresh set of tyres here, followed in by Lewis Hamilton, I believe that was, in the Mercedes, and it is indeed. These guys all on the two-stop strategy, going soft, medium by the looks of things here. And they're putting those fresh tyres on. Where will they come out though? Verstappen going to come out way down the order. He's going to come out between the Haas cars, way down the field. Oh, and I believe he's just been hit and clipped by Nikita Mazepin, who has broken his wing there. So Mazepin going into the back of Max Verstappen as Verstappen exits the pits. But all these guys coming out way down the field. At the back of the field as well, that was a close call there between Hamilton and Ricciardo as they try and get around the slow Nikita Mazepin, who has got some wing damage there. But these guys all coming out way down the order, which will give them a lot of traffic to deal with. Valtteri Bottas now a lap later into the pits, race leader, slamming the brakes on into the pit lane. He's approaching his box now, going to put on the medium compound of tyres. Where will he come out here? And he's actually been jumped in the pits there by Lando Norris. Looks like Bottas got held up in the pits. Lando Norris will be the first car out. Will he come out ahead here of Nicholas Latifi? Not quite able to there. Latifi, the leader of the two Williams cars in this race so far. Lando Norris trying to get ahead of the Williams. Meanwhile, we've got a battle there between Guan Yu Zhou and Valtteri Bottas. Bottas was the leader going into the pits here. But now with Lando Norris just up the road, as Norris does get ahead of Nicholas Latifi around the outside of turn 4. Nice move there by the Brit. Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes going to try and go all the way around the outside of Guan Yu Zhou. Zhou doing a great drive so far in the Haas, trying to hold off the much quicker Mercedes as they dive up the hill now. And Guan Yu Zhou does manage to hold on to that position for now, but I'm sure Bottas will get past in no time. Let's see. They make their way through the high-speed turn 9, I believe it is. Now diving into the hairpin now. It's wheel-to-wheel between Max Verstappen and Bottas. Bottas came into these out of the pits as the net second place driver, went in as the net leader, and now finds himself dropping down the order, and he's having to pit again. Valtteri Bottas will come into the pits at the end of lap 8, and despite a strong first stint coming out in traffic, that has messed up his race, and with wing damage that has Bottas out of the fight for the victory here early on in the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, up at the front, Antonio Giovinazzi leads this race for Aston Martin. Aston Martin had a strong round one and currently lead the constructor standings, but Giovinazzi now leading this race as he did start on the medium tyres. I said we could see a bit of a crossover in strategy here with those on the one stopper and those on the two stopper. Giovinazzi is on those medium tyres, so is on a one-stop strategy. Meanwhile, we have Tsunoda battling Schumacher. Schumacher was another one of those drivers that starred in Bahrain, getting 5th for Alfa Romeo, as he's now battling with Yuki Tsunoda over this 6th position. Tsunoda trying to go all the way around the outside of turn 3. It looks like there's a lot of grip on the outside of there, because we saw Bottas make that move earlier on in the Grand Prix. Tsunoda trying to follow that line that Bottas took on lap 1. Tsunoda now wheel to wheel with Schumacher still as they dive their way out to turn 4 now into turn 5. Tsunoda on the inside, and this is Norris watching on. Norris, the net race leader at the moment. But of course he does, I mean, I say net race leader, everyone does to make a pit stop, as proven now by Lance Stroll coming to the pits. Everyone does to make one pit stop, so Norris is legitimately in that 6th position. But it's whether he can use his fresh tyres to his advantage. Stroll comes out of the pits now, first of those one-stoppers to pit, and he comes out behind Guan Yu Zhou. It appeared pretty much everyone in the field has seen the rear wing of that Haas car at some point in this Grand Prix. Oh, and that's a blowing up engine. That is a blown up engine. Who is that? That's Carlos Sainz, the driver in his home Grand Prix. Starring so far today. Great drive for Carlos Sainz. And his engine has blown here. Meanwhile, Norris now up to 3rd place. But heartbreak in his home Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz out of the race here on lap 15. Into the pits now. Race leader Antonio Giovinazzi, followed in by Pato O'Ward in the Chevrolet. These two coming for their one and only stop in this Grand Prix. Can they make the one-stop work here today? Giovinazzi's going to come out the pits, where he's going to come out just ahead of Fernando Alonso, so a nice piece of road here. Giovinazzi has a little bit of a gap ahead of him. Well, a nice gap ahead. He's not going to have to worry about getting any traffic, at least for now, as he catches that train of cars. Meanwhile, it's a battle here for 2nd place in this Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari ahead of Lewis Hamilton. They battle their way up through turns 2 and 3. Spain proving a great racetrack here so far today. Lots of racing into that first chicane. Vettel passed by Lewis Hamilton there, and now he's got a bit of a train behind him. Looks like Vettel may have picked up some damage in that battle, and Sebastian Vettel now in 3rd place, dropping down the order, and into the pits now, followed in by a lot of cars though, as all these drivers preparing for their 2nd stop of the day, and of course these guys preparing for their final stops of the day. Vettel lowered a wing change, that will cost him a lot of time. Lewis Hamilton coming out of the pits now in 10th position, but a lot of drivers ahead of him have to pit again. However, some of them don't. Most notably Antonio Giovinazzi and Lance Stroll, both in strong positions at the moment in this Grand Prix. Norris though leads the way, and will he come into the pits? Yes he will. Norris into the pit lane now for McLaren. Norris driving for his first career Grand Prix victory. He had a few strong races last year, but he's going to come out of the pits, and where will he come out? In the lead. What a stint there by Lando Norris. He finds himself out in the lead of this Grand Prix. Giovinazzi on the one stop, but just Norris able to put in lap time so good that he pulled a pit stop over his rival for the race win here. Meanwhile, we've got a battle going on for the 3rd position. Ocon, Stroll and Pato O'Ward in this battle as they make their way through turn 4. Ocon ahead of these two. Stroll on the inside of O'Ward. Let's now make their way down towards turn 6 and 7. Diving up the inside goes O'Ward using the grass, and O'Ward may have to give up on this one. That Chevrolet doesn't quite look to have the pace. He had to try and capitalise on the battle between Ocon and Stroll, but O'Ward coming back at Stroll here, going into the hairpin now up the hill. Can he get the better traction? Looks like he has, and that is up into 4th position for O'Ward, and allowed to try and stretch that gap, use the dirty air through the final few corners to try and get ahead, but it doesn't look like he's going to manage to do it. And Stroll immediately the next lap into turn 1, back past the Chevrolet of O'Ward. O'Ward not having a great second stint here. Those hard tyres not looking good on the Chevrolet car. Stroll up into 4th position. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton on that 2-stop on a charge at the moment. He is up into 5th position here as he gets past Pato O'Ward, up into the top 5 now for Hamilton. Got a long way to go to get back on the podium, but he's on a charge at the moment now, making the move for 4th position ahead of Lance Stroll, knocking Lance Stroll down a position now. Hamilton goes round 1 of the season, trying to recover some points here today. Norris finished second in round 1 of the season, so at the moment, Lando Norris looking in a good position to have the lead of this championship. Lewis Hamilton, he's made quick work of the drivers he had to pass so far, but this group of cars are going to be tough to pass. This duo of Ocon and Giovinazzi, Ocon with the DRS of Giovinazzi, means that Hamilton is not going to be able to just DRS past Esteban Ocon, meaning that his charge appears to have stalled out for the moment at least. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen on the back of O'Ward, the reigning champion, the reigning drivers' champion and constructors' champion, of course, Red Bulls, now only up into 6th position. This is not the start of the season they would have wanted. Verstappen not having a great Grand Prix so far. Meanwhile, we're going to battle it on the final lap of the Grand Prix between Esteban Ocon and Antonio Giovinazzi, battling away for the 2nd position. Giovinazzi doing all he can to hold on to this position, and he fights off Ocon on this occasion. Hamilton now looking to try and sniff away onto the podium. Going to go up the inside of Ocon into turn 4 there, wheel to wheel. Through turn 4 now, Hamilton on the inside, Ocon on the outside. Who's going to come out on top here in this battle? Ocon sending one to the inside, trying to hold on to dear life for this podium here. But on the outside line, Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes with the superior grip gets up into 3rd position. But 20 seconds out in the lead of the Grand Prix, Lando Norris comes around the final few corners. And for the first time in Formula 1, Lando Norris is a Grand Prix winner. What a drive by the McLaren driver to get his first win here in Formula 1 in Spain. In 2nd position, Antonio Giovinazzi. Could he get his 3rd career Formula 1 podium? He got his 2nd last time out in Bahrain. Antonio Giovinazzi through the final corner. He's held off Lewis Hamilton. And Antonio Giovinazzi will get 2nd place here in Spain ahead of Lewis Hamilton. It's the same 3 drivers on the podium as Bahrain, just in a slightly different order here. Lando Norris taking top prize, and McLaren for the first time in a long time, for the first time since 2012. McLaren win a Grand Prix here, and Lando Norris is on the top step of the podium. What a drive by Lando Norris. I mean, just clear the field by so far. Not only did he have to pull a pit stop on Antonio Giovinazzi in the first 2 stints, he then pulled another pit stop on Antonio Giovinazzi in his 3rd stint. So, brilliant drive by Lando Norris ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi and Lewis Hamilton. These 3 drivers have all had outstanding starts to the season. I mean, you've got to highlight Giovinazzi here. Moves team is to Aston Martin. Fresh start for him after a strong season with Alfa Romeo last season. He got a podium in France last season with Alfa Romeo. But that was all he was able to sort of show for himself, because that car wasn't regularly battling for the points. But Giovinazzi's going to start this season with 2 consecutive podiums. I mean, what a start to the season for the Italian driver. Now looking at the final results here in the Spanish Grand Prix. Lando Norris wins the Grand Prix from 3rd on the grid. Antonio Giovinazzi from 12th, doing 1 less stop than his rivals, gets 2nd in this race. Lewis Hamilton takes 3rd after a late charge through the field. Then it's Esteban Ocon in 4th, just missing out on that podium on the final lap of the race. Ahead of Lance Stroll, backing up another strong day for the Aston Martin team. Then Max Verstappen, the reigning champion, only 6th place so far in this race. Not able to make up many positions in this Grand Prix. Started 2nd but didn't capitalise on it, and finds himself 6th position in this Grand Prix. Sergio Perez takes 7th place. It's a better day for him than his teammate after Perez started 8th, but still a disappointing day for the team's reigning champions, with them only taking home 6th and 7th. An improvement on what they got in Bahrain, but still not the heights they had last season. Daniel Ricciardo takes home 8th for McLaren, a disappointing start of the season for the Australian when you compare him to Lando Norris, who is having a great season so far. Then behind him it is Pato O'Ward and Pierre Gasly rounding out the points. O'Ward losing out late in that race to Perez and Ricciardo. The Chevrolet car not doing quite as well on its hard compound tyres. Now let's move on to the drivers' standings. After round 2 of the season, it is Lando Norris who leads the Drivers' Championship by 2 points over Lewis Hamilton there. We saw last season that it was Verstappen versus Hamilton for the championship. Maybe, just maybe, this season it'll be Norris versus Hamilton. That certainly would be an interesting duel for the championship. Third in the championship, Antonio Giovinazzi, only 10 points off the championship lead. I mean, I wouldn't say that's going to last, but if it did, that would be one hell of a season for Antonio Giovinazzi. But he's currently 3rd in the championship. Great start to the season for him. And if Lance Stroll and Esteban Ocon is still 6th in the Drivers' Championship. Mick Schumacher had a great start to the season, ahead of the reigning champion, Max Verstappen. Would award 8th in the Drivers' Championship, ahead of Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz after a heartbreaking DNF in his home Grand Prix. Now, moving on to the Constructors' standings, Aston Martin still lead the Constructors' standings over McLaren. I mean, they've actually extended their Constructors' Championship lead. It was 1 point after Bahrain, they now have an 8-point Constructors' Championship lead after Spain. What a start to the season they have had here, ahead of McLaren and Mercedes. Mercedes 14 points off the lead, but by no means out of it, of course. Aston Martin, I mean, boy, if this form keeps up, we are in for one hell of a season, but I think it's fair to say Aston Martin don't quite have the car that McLaren and Mercedes have, maybe not even that of Red Bulls either. So it could be short-lived for Aston Martin, but still, credit where credit is due. A great start to the season for Aston Martin. McLaren sitting second in the Constructors, 8 points off at the moment, ahead of Mercedes in third. Reigning champions Red Bull only fourth at the moment, just 1 point ahead of Chevrolet. With Alpine currently in sixth, ahead of Alfa Romeo and Ferrari, who had a tough start to the season. AlphaTauri, another team who had a bit of a rough start to the season, only scoring 1 point so far this year. So that was it for the Spanish Grand Prix here in the Alternative Apex series. Tomorrow it is Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix. I hope we have another fantastic race. Can Aston Martin keep up this shock form? Can Mercedes and McLaren continue to be the two top cars? Or will Red Bull finally find their form and take a win this season? Who knows? We've got two different winners in the first two races. Will it be free in Canada? The only way to find out is to tune in tomorrow for the Canadian Grand Prix. But until then, it's goodbye.